It's Friday. Thanks for hanging with us here on First Take. Skip Bayless, I'm Molly Karam here in studio. Stephen A. joins us from NYC. Gentlemen, good morning.
What's up? What's up? How y'all doing?
I'll be in NYC a little later today because we all know who owns that town.
Oh,
you know better than that. My apologies if anybody sees me looking a bit uglier today. I have absolutely no makeup on whatsoever. I'm just raw this morning.
I would never know. Forgot. You're such a natural beauty. You woke up like this.
Wait, who could tell?
That is true. I do look good.
You both look handsome, as always. We've got a lot to get into today. Coming up, guess who Manny Pacquiao and Freddie Roach are calling out for his next fight to ultimately set up a rematch with Floyd for his 50th fight. In which team forced Tony Dungy and Peyton to meet in the hallway because they feared the visitors' locker room was bugged. We'll fill you in on that whole story in just a bit. But first, the hits keep on coming for RG3, both literally and figuratively. Griffin was under siege during limited action versus Detroit last night, exiting in the second quarter with a stinger and a concussion and did not return. His production was terrible. He dropped back to pass 8 times and was hit on 6 of those attempts while being sacked 3 times. Let's not forget, RG3 had the highest sack rate in the league last season. Stephen A., is the bigger problem here RG3 or his protection?
Well, I definitely think it's the protection. We can't even get to RG3 because the man was on suicide watch last night. He had absolutely no time to throw whatsoever, only played 4 series, completed 2 of 5 passes for just 8 yards, which is anemic and pathetic if you're just looking at the numbers. But if you actually watched RG3 out there last night, the offensive line should be ashamed of itself. As far as I'm concerned, if I was Coach Jay Gruden, they'd be throwing up on the field all morning long as we speak because I'd have them running suicide all day long. He was getting popped silly last night. Detroit obviously has a very, very physical line. We know that. But they were not even playing with Haloti Ngata. And when you look at it from that perspective and you see the fact that the Detroit Lions didn't necessarily have their A-list material going up against the Redskins offensive line, and the Redskins offensive line seemed to be nothing short of pathetic. I mean, a legitimate argument could be made that they literally were not blocking on purpose because they wanted RG3 to get popped silly. That's how absolutely positively awful they looked last night. It was a damn shame to see that offensive line perform the way that they did. They should be ashamed to walk the streets today. They did not do their jobs. There was a clear dereliction of duty. And as far as I'm concerned, the general manager and the coach needs to invite these guys into their office and ask them if they have something personal against RG3 because it almost seemed like they didn't want to block for him. That's how bad the offensive line looked last night. I'm not accusing them of cheating or anything like that. I'm just saying their performance was that pathetic that they got their quarterback hurt. There's no question about it. Now, it seemed to be a freak thing because he lost the ball at the time. He was untouched, dived on the ground to get the ball back. Wooten fell on top of him. As a result, it caused the concussion, and I get that. But the shots that RG3 was taking last night, there were a lot of shots. It was completely unnecessary, and if guys were doing their job, it would not have happened. It was a damn shame to see him out there taking the hits that he was taking.
You know what's ironic about everything you just said? If I had said the same thing, now we're in B-roll, so I guess it doesn't matter what I'm saying.
It always matters.
It always happens right when I talk because I don't really count, but it's okay. But if I had said the same thing that you had just said, as the bigger RG3 fan, obviously I was crazy supportive of him going into that draft, Luck or RG3 or Luck. If I'd said what you had just said, I would be quickly and hugely accused of sugarcoating a pathetic RG3 performance. I do agree with everything you just said, but I'm going to go a little farther, and I'm going to try to be objective from my point of view here. I agree with you about the lack of protection. He deserves, Robert, some break for lack of protection last night. Remember, Trent Williams, who's been a Pro Bowl left tackle for the Redskins, could not go last night. And the kid, or he's not a kid, he's a fifth-year guy who stood in for Trent Williams named Willie Smith, might not even make this roster. So you have a left tackle who might not even be on the 53-man when you finally go to real battle. And then the kid that they did take with the 5th overall pick, that Brandon Scherf, on the first pass play of the game for RG3, Mr. Scherf got driven straight back into the quarterback, creating a sack, which for the 5th overall pick was a not so good sign, even in the second preseason game. And I must admit, I had a flash along the same lines you did, not quite interpreting the same way you did. I thought for a moment, I couldn't help but wondering, is Jay Gruden leaving him out there to sabotage him? Because I don't think Jay's a big fan. I hear it from a lot of insiders, just not sold on RG3. So I thought for a second, is this his way of just showing up RG3, exposing him to so many hits, not to get him hurt, just to make him look bad? I don't know, but now I'm going to be objective about it. Despite the lack of protection, despite the fact that obviously there's no Deshaun Jackson because he's out with his shoulder injury, I still thought Robert looked lost in the pocket. You and I have spoken to some of the same sources within the Redskins organization who have told us that after that great rookie year that Robert had, when he won Rookie of the Year and led the Redskins to the division title, then wrecked his knee, that Robert and his father decided he wanted to be a pocket passer. Obviously, Jay Gruden wants him only to be a pocket passer. I'm here to tell you, he's just not that. He needs to use his rare speed. It is rare speed and quickness that he has, occasionally and judiciously, to enhance and complement his arm, which is a big arm. It's a great arm, but he needs the other to complement the pocket passing. And by the other, I mean just the occasional read option, the occasional rollout, the occasional quarterback draw, none of which we saw in the stint that we witnessed last night. So it's all pocket passing. And Stephen A., I know people are on him quickly, but even on his quick drops, his 3-step drops, he's just hesitant. He doesn't look the same. I'm the biggest fan, and I'm just telling you, I can't recognize him. I get it that people are all over him fairly quickly, but even when he did have time, it didn't look good to me. It didn't look right to me. Well, and he did fumble twice. Remember, you just can't fumble. You cannot. And on the play you talked about, the injury play, I don't know what he's doing. He sort of wandered up in the pocket, and then he just lost the football. Well, obviously you can't do that. Go ahead.
Well, Skip, I'm going to veer away from the debate part and start asking you a couple of questions here, because we know Trent Williams was out. We know journeyman Willie Smith filled in for him, gave up 2 of the 3 sacks that he suffered. We get that, okay? Skip Bayless, I got to ask you this. He's a north and south runner with electric speed.
Electric, yep.
But he was never elusive outside of just being a north and south guy. He wasn't a Michael Vick. He wasn't that kind of.
He's not a Johnny Manziel, if you will. I mean,
right. He's not elusive.
All right.
So what I ask you is this. I'm looking at him, and I know he's not a pocket passer, just like you do. Do you think it's a product of the injury that he suffered and the fact that he's devoid of the confidence that he once had? Or how much culpability can it be on RG3 to not emphasize to the Redskins the importance of buffering the offensive line? Because I've never heard him speak on that. What are your thoughts about that?
That's fair.
What are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts are that I think Robert wants to be a pocket passer. I agree with you about the side-to-side elusivity, but there are ways to run him off that read option where he just bolts off to the off left tackle, and it's pretty much north-south running, and 8 yards later, somebody finally gets to him. Now, as you know and I know, Robert still, the last time we checked, hadn't learned to slide. He just doesn't know how. But if you could figure it out like Russell Wilson has figured it out, you just get down after your 8 yards. It's 8 yards. It's like that. It's like, thank you very much. It's a gift. And we don't see enough gifts to keep the pass rush honest. Last night, if just 1 or 2 little bolts, a rollout, whatever you want to do, a quarterback draw, it would keep them a little more honest where they're hesitating off the line of scrimmage. We can't go all out because this guy could gash us again. We didn't see that. I know it was a short stint, but again, they're just trying to force feed him into being the pure pocket passer.
But are they? And that was my second. But that was my second question. Are they trying to force feed it to him? Or have they bought into RG3 trying to force feed it to them that's what he wants to do, regardless of how ineffective he is?
They're probably both culpable, but it sure seems to me like Jay Gruden would prefer to coach, teach, and call plays for a pure pocket passer as opposed to the read option. It's just not Jay's cup of tea. Mike Shanahan was fine with it. As you recall, Mike, to his credit, he adapted beautifully. He put Robert in positions early on, as much as they were clashing and as much as Shanahan didn't want to draft him, at least to pay that king's ransom to go up to get him. Initially, I thought Mike put him in a beautiful position to win Rookie of the Year. Unfortunately, as you know, Robert got hurt, which leads me to my final point, and I'll ask you this question. What is he doing taking so much punishment? Seriously, in all my years of watching preseason football, I have never seen a starting quarterback take more punishment than Robert has taken in the first 2 preseason games. Game 1 and 2 of the preseason. He gets rocked every other play. What is he doing? I admire the courage, but you need to have smart courage. What?
I just don't know. But Skip, my point to you is I don't know that or Gruden. To me, he didn't have to take all of that punishment. And Molly, I'll throw this out to you and Skip. You covered the NFL. Listen, Skip's right. I've never seen RG3, I've never seen any starting quarterback take this much punishment this early in preseason. I think he's victimized himself. I think his ego and his desire to be a pocket passer ultimately has cost him. But I think he's camouflaging the fact that the confidence that he once had is absent because he suffered 2 ACL injuries. Either way you slice it, to me, this is a recipe for disaster. There is no way you can book this. There is no way, guys and gal, there is no way that RG3 is lasting this season. Based on what we're seeing, he's not going to last. He's not going to last.
Okay, but remember, despite all the injuries he's gone through, he's not gun shy in the pocket. I mean, he's not wincing and ducking. He's just standing in it and taking it right in the kisser. He's acting, his body language in the pocket is that of an undrafted free agent rookie trying to make the practice squad by showing how tough he is. That's how it's coming across. He was the Rookie of the Year. He played better than Andrew Luck did the first year. And it's come to this. I just don't get it.
The way it is right now, RG3 is going to be punch drunk before his 5th year in the NFL if he keeps taking these hits. But I also put some of the culpability on the part of Daniel Snyder and Bruce Allen. Because if you recall, Tony Romo insisted to Jerry Jones a couple of years ago, just get me an offensive line. Go ahead and draft the Travis Fredericks of the world, the Zach Martins of the world.
But they
do what you can.
They went with the 5th pick. They went and got that kid, Scherf.
Brandon Scherf.
Okay, so he's the 5th overall pick, and I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to grade offensive linemen coming out of college. I just can't do it watching television. But
it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad right now.
Their sort of their view of him was not the best athlete at the position, but he's a football player. Well, last night he got exploded back into the quarterback. It's just a bad sign.
Yes, he did.
And Trent Williams from the University of Oklahoma, by the way, is a stud at left tackle, and he just wasn't out there last night. So I don't know. They're not great, but they're not awful in the offensive line.
Well, if he's not out there, why does RG3 need to be out there?
Well,
see, that's my point.
But he just
don't put him out there. Hold on, wait a minute. You can't. He doesn't need Skip. You can't get the brother reps if you don't have him out there protected. If you don't have the protection out there, he doesn't need to be out there in meaningless games.
Yeah, especially if the starting line's not there and with his injury history. Guys, it's going to be a rough go of it to start the season as well. The Redskins play Miami in the season opener. They have one of the best lines in the league. And then the Rams, who we know apply the pressure as well. We move on now to another team with quarterback questions. The Browns quarterbacks faced Rex Ryan's Bills defense last night. Josh McCown played all 3 series in the first half, went 7 of 10 for 57 yards.